Greetings, welcome to Busme US. I'm Dr. Polar Human, and this screencast will explain some of the main components of the administration of a Busme US transportation site. The purpose of this screencast is to get you familiar with the top-level administration with only hinting at the underlying data model. This is so you have some anchor from which to understand the Busme data model, which will be explained in a subsequent screencast. In my last screencast, I created a site for the Loop Bus in New Paltz, New York. I may get to the administration part of this site by typing HTTP Busme US followed by the slug that I used for New Paltz, which is nploop-new-paltz-ny, followed by /admin. Obviously, I could have also bookmarked it. The URL forces me to sign on as an administrator if I have not been logged on in a while. I use the same authentication I created the site with, that being my Twitter authentication. Successful authentication brings me to the main administration page for my New Paltz site. On this page you can see there's identity information for this site in the first table. The second table lists the active deployment and the testing deployment, noting that there is not one designated for either. Further down you can see the deployments button as well as a link on the sidebar. There you would also find links for the new deployment, the active deployment, and the testing deployment, and an expandable menu item for deployments. This type of configuration should lead someone to believe that a Busme transportation site is made up of top-level components called deployments, and that there may be a deployment that is active and a deployment that is designated as testing. There are many advanced aspects of the administration of a particular Busme site, and they are beyond the scope of this screencast. They concern the management of the site's administrators and users, the looks of the web pages, and the management of the background processes for running your bus schedules. The administrative capabilities will be explained in later separate screencasts. The primary administration aspect of the Busme transportation site is concerned with defining deployments and making one active and setting one up for testing. A deployment is the top-level component on which my site executes a bus schedule. A deployment must be designated as active in order for my riders to be able to use the main site and the mobile application effectively. Here on the administration page you can see in the second table that I neither have a deployment designated as active or testing. If I click on these links, it will subsequently tell me that fact. You have not selected a deployment to be the active one. If I click on the testing deployment, I get a similar message that says you have not selected a deployment for testing. If I were to go to the rider-facing site, which I can do just by clicking on the Busme title, you will see that I will get to the main site for New Paltz. But the red message above tells me that the site is not active. This means that the site is not running a current bus schedule. Going back to the administration page and onto the deployments page, you can see that I have one deployment. The deployment was created for me during the initial site creation as a convenience, and it is called Deployment 1 for lack of a better name. Clicking on one of these links, either in the sidebar or down here, gets me to the deployments page. This page lists some information about the deployment and some operations pertaining to it. You will notice the deployment has a name, a location, a note, and the owner, which is me, and a line for some route codes. There are also several buttons that allow me to change or see specific things about the deployment. The lower table lists the networks that this deployment contains and some operations specific to each particular network in the list. This table lists a network called Network 1, which was also created for me as a convenience. The networks are the next level component below deployments in the Busme data model. You may surmise that with zeros under routes, services, and journeys, that Network 1 is empty. Clicking on Network 1 reveals some more specific information about the network and some operations that I may perform. Most notable is Plan Network, which is the action you use to populate a network. Before we go on with that, it is prudent to explain the Busme data model in detail for you to get a feel for how the bus schedule and routes are organized. I will do that in the next screencast. So this concludes the screencast on the major components of the administration of a Busme transportation site.